Welcome to Mystic Underground. I'm Mark.
And I'm Kent. Tonight, we have a rather sinister episode about demons.
On our Mystic Rewind, we'll dive into our book of supernatural events to read 2 personal testimonies of demonic activity that happened to me over a decade ago.
We recommend giving this one a listen by yourself in a dark corner of an empty room, preferably a haunted room. Just remember to keep that sage handy and your stones close. So tuck in your children,
Shut your curtains,
and hide your eyes, as things are about to get
scary. Mystic Rewind.
This story's called
Something Turned on the Water.
In 2007, I was living in Hamilton, Montana in a 5-bedroom historic home built in the 1800s. It was situated 1 street back from Maine on a half-acre plot in the middle of town. This house was certainly well kept for its year, exhibiting nice wooden floors, medium-sized bedrooms, walk-in closets, and a large front porch, but it had some creepier features as well. There were secret passageways behind most of the walls, just tall enough to crawl between different areas of the house. I never went all the way through there myself though, as it was filled with spider webs and dust comparable to a tomb. I did try once, but after dozens of webs strung across my face, I had had enough. One night, I was watching an action movie with my only roommate when out of nowhere, something slammed down onto our rooftop, shaking the entire house. Mind you, we had this movie turned way up on some excellent speakers, but this loud boom reverberated down the walls. Immediately, we went to investigate, first glancing upstairs before going outside with flashlights to check our roof, fully expecting to see a dead body that fell from somewhere. To our surprise, nothing looked out of place and no bodies could be seen. Fast forward a week and I had just arrived home from a night out with my roommate. I headed upstairs as they collapsed on the couch, but when I got to the 2nd floor, I heard running water. I peered over my right shoulder and saw steam coming from the upstairs bathroom. Chills went down my spine, but without hesitation, I went and opened the restroom door. Inside, the light was on and the bathtub's faucet gushing. I knew it had been going for a while as the steam was thick and the tub nearing capacity. I bent down and turned the knobs a few times before the faucet would even shut off. I gulped, knowing there was no possible way for the pressure in the pipes to cause that. That realization told me one of 2 things. A stranger was in our house or a spirit was, neither of which sounded pleasant. I backed out of the restroom and bolted down the stairs, getting my roommate's attention. I asked them if they'd been up there since we got home, but I already knew the answer. When they said no, I hurried into the room where I kept my old .22 revolver. I collected the pistol along with a flashlight and went right back up the 2nd story to do a sweep. I searched high and low, even peeking into the hidden passageways, but I was certain nothing had crawled through them as none of the spider webs were disturbed. I combed both floors and came up empty, but I knew there was one last place to check, and I wasn't prepared for it. We had the basement from hell, and it was the only spot I felt hesitant to look. The doorway, for one, was hidden inside the pantry behind a fake shelving wall. There was no lock on the pantry door to keep anything out either, so I had to go down there to clear it. I shoved the basement's access door aside and peered down the old rickety steps. To make matters worse, the only light for that stairwell had a pull chain, and its half-burned-out bulb wasn't very bright at all. I turned it on though, regardless, as I needed every bit of lighting I could get. I only made it down a couple stairs when my flashlight decided to call it quits. I tapped it against my leg and clicked its power button on and off, but it was as dead as I was sure to be. With my revolver snug in the hand, I walked down several more steps until the stairwell's bulb began to flicker, putting me in and out of darkness. Then, it just stayed off. I ran back up the stairs and pulled the chain over and over until the light finally twinkled back on. Taking a deep breath, I headed back down the flight of steps, but this time I actually made it to the bottom. As soon as I did, I swung myself around the corner to get a good look at the basement. A black apparition was standing in the middle of the room beneath the only light, but it suddenly flew sideways to the darkest corner of the basement. At that moment, the only light in the basement shut off, and I was left in pitch black with whatever this dark entity was. I had nearly pulled the trigger on my revolver, but somehow I kept my composure even with trembling hands. But I certainly didn't stick around. I turned and ran for all I was worth, tripping most of the way up the stairs. It didn't end there though, as I had to make sure that this demon had left the premises. I found a really good flashlight in one of our kitchen drawers and mustered up the courage to go down there one more time, but then it was empty. Whatever I saw down there had escaped right through the walls. The scariest part of it all is knowing that this thing is still out there and many more just like it. So every time you shut off your lights, remember that these demons might just be lurking in the dark corners of each room.
The title of our next story is A Demon Went Up the Hall. It was 2004 and I was living in Colorado with my parents as a junior in high school. Our house was just a few miles southwest of Gunnison near Hartmut Rocks Recreation Area, a beautiful hiking, mountain biking, and climbing range with 14,000 acres and 45 miles of trails. We loved residing there as it was still close to town, but far enough away to enjoy a bit of country serenity. One late evening, my family, consisting of my parents, brother, grandparents, and myself, decided to head to town for dinner at a Chinese restaurant. I'll tell you one thing, that family-owned Hole in the Wall had the best teriyaki chicken I've ever had. Following the nice meal, we headed back home, arriving in the dark. I was the first one through the front door, followed by my brother and my mother. I flicked the entryway, living room, and hallway lights on all at the same time, illuminating the house like a Christmas tree, as we had very bright light fixtures throughout that home. What I saw next was something that I'll never be able to unsee. As those bright lights overtook the darkness, my eyes locked into something standing right in front of me, a mere 4 feet away. It looked like a black mist, but in the shape of a human. It had a head, shoulders, and a torso and legs, but it was difficult to distinguish beneath its smoky appearance. It was like peering directly into a black hole. This thing slowly floated past me and made its way up the hallway, passing directly beneath a row of lights. At the end of the hall, this demon began to transform, its human-esque figure turning to a ball of smoke before slipping through a crack in the door, ending up in my grandparents' room. At that point, I glanced back at my brother, and by the look on his face, I knew he had seen it too. Without hesitation, we grabbed a couple of flashlights and ran to that back room, throwing open the door that it had just entered. We searched that room from top to bottom, even throwing the clothes aside in the closets to make sure that this evil being was gone. I'll never forget the adrenaline I felt pulsating through my veins as I searched for this terrifying spirit. The bravery we both showed was pretty remarkable, since this was our first run-in with the demon. Come to find out, my mother saw this thing as well, but didn't say anything during our scramble to the back room. Following this event, one of my family members got injured and soon passed away. I'll never know if this dark spirit somehow knew that this was going to happen. Was it an angel of death or something else? Now it's time for Ask the Aliens, a questions and answers segment where we'll discuss anything paranormal. Question 1. What is your favorite type of thing to investigate?
Yeah, so I wrote a couple little notes here and there. So my first thing I wrote down is cryptids, because I love that, man. I love what we do when we go out for cryptids. And we actually have a huge show coming up that we're filming in the spring. Kent, myself, and Nick will probably be involved in that as well. So we're going to have a lot of fun.
That one's going to be exciting.
Yeah, definitely. To those who don't know what we do with that, we started with our Night Stalker investigations doing cryptids. And basically, we go out in the woods, we bring meats, we bring like bait and scents. They're supposed to make the predators get riled up. It's like, one's called Rage and basically works off their pheromones. So it's pretty wild. But we have calls we bring with us, prey calls. And, it's interesting because I know somebody who's actually seen a rake run across the road chasing a bunny rabbit, like trying to kill it at night. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a dying rabbit call could definitely work. I mean, if you're seeing these kind of things chasing bunny rabbits across the road and you have a dying rabbit call and all these baits and stuff, then
yeah,
definitely call something in, man. I mean, you never know.
So we'll be out there, attracting fierce predators, stuff like that, right? That's going to be exciting.
I mean, not many people do this at night, and especially stay out there for several hours. Like they might go out for a couple hours, but we're planning on being out there for like 4 or 5, 6 hours on multiple nights, leaving the bait out there, just really stinky, rotten stuff. And all this meat, we're gonna let the meat get kind of aged, keep using it over and over, just refreeze it, use it again, refreeze it. It's gonna be crazy, man. I mean, you never know what we'll call in.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Any kind of predators, bears, wolves, coyotes, we could see it all. So it's dangerous for sure. We do have self-defense weapons we will bring just as a backup, like worst case scenario. Yeah. We'll be prepared, but it'll be a lot of fun. We're doing that in the spring. It'll be a brand new show, and man, we're excited about it. So
can't wait for that one.
Every team likes to, they seem to want to do the most renowned spaces, like with the most notoriety and fame. They go to these huge spots that everybody's heard of. You know, you hear team after team going, hey, guess what? We're going to this spot. And then you hear the next team, hey, we're going to that spot too. Hey, the next team. So I don't know. I feel like when you have so many people coming in and out of a space, it kind of corrupts the space at one point. You know, it's like it ruins the nature of the haunted space.
Yeah,
if you
I
ask
definitely
me.
agree. Like having, you know, people tramp all over your living room. You know,
Yeah.
how much rest or how much at peace can you have in, you know, spirit or a person or anything, right?
Exactly. Like, how can you have peace with that? You know, I'm sure even spirits want to have kind of their free time and their alone time and their own little bubble, so to speak.
Yeah.
And if you've got, you know, 10 teams a day at some renowned place going in there, you know, just for the notoriety of it, then I don't know. It just seems like that would really kind of ruin the spot over time a little bit.
They'd be more shy, or not necessarily shy, but they definitely would stay away.
It would take away the sacred part of it, you know, like if it's like the sacred, you know, special place to these spirits and that's why they're there. And these people are coming in and out, hollering, picking fights and whatnot.
Yeah, basically coming out, like disturbing the peace.
Obviously, demonic stuff wouldn't mind that. They probably want to pick a fight and mess with you and, you know, scratch you and all that if you're picking fights. But, you know, if you have regular spirits and that's like the house they died in or something, you know, they're not going to want you coming in and out and doing all that stuff. So
agreed.
yeah, for me, I'd rather go into like you know, an unknown place. Somebody reaches out to us. It actually happens a lot. They reach out, say, hey, something's haunting our house. We want you guys to come in, see what's going on, see if you can figure anything out with it, and hopefully make it either leave or at least give them answers on it. And we had a lady do that in our season 1 on Paraflix.
That's right.
Yeah, she called us up, and we went in there, and her kids were actually saying things like the demons, supposedly demons, would tell the kids, stab your mom and all that kind of stuff. So pretty scary stuff. And so she reached out to us. She had the house blessed multiple times before we ever got called. And then we went in there, and these things were talking about her daughters, saying
they were very specific, right?
Yeah.
Like very detailed in like the family history and all that.
Yeah, you know, they were saying that the girls' names, you know, specifically, and the youngest the most, like the youngest daughter. And so I can't imagine. That's pretty freaky to have some spirits saying your daughter's name. And they were kind of perverted spirits. They were saying some really messed up stuff. So we let her know right away. We're like, hey, you got some really messed up spirits there. Something dark came in towards the end. All our cameras died. It was doing a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah.
And so you had like these perversions being said, you know, between these few spirits, and then all of a sudden this deep voice would say, you know, stop, and then they would all shut up. So it's like one demonic authority was controlling
over all
them.
these other controlling
it was wild
spirits, or bullying these other spirits, I guess, more like it, right?
Yeah, I mean, so if anybody wants to check that out, that's in our season 1 on Paraflix. It's Night Stalker Investigations, and it's episode 6, so it's a pretty wild one. But it's kind of weird that it happened to be episode 6 too, you know. Like,
I know, right? Add the little extra spookiness to it.
But yeah, man, what about you? What do you think?
Kind of along the same lines, I would think. Paranormal and hauntings, something that's dragged you, you know, to a freaky locale, whether inside or outside. Like you're saying, like, you know, the lady's house, you know, how scary is that when we're actually going out and investigating? That stuff is always fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
You know.
It's terrifying, but the adrenaline keeps you going. It kind of excites you at the same time, and you're just like, here we go, man. It's like almost like before an NBA game or like a football game or something. I imagine
adrenaline, dopamine rush. You know?
Yeah, same with like an MMA fighter before they go out. I can't imagine the rush they get.
The rush they get through that. Yeah, same thing. I mean, obviously different,
genres. You know, but at the same time,
right.
You know, it's that kind of rush and excitement you get when you love something like that.
Yeah, it's just discovering something new. It's definitely a new experience anytime you're out there.
Yeah,
always different.
This, like, my whole life, people would ask me, like, you know, what do you want to do when you grow up? You know, you hear that your whole life.
Yeah, right.
And I never knew, man. Like, I've done a lot of security work and executive protection and park ranger stuff, and I try to do things that I enjoyed, which I enjoy that stuff a lot. but at the same time, like that's not necessarily me. Like it's fun stuff to do. I enjoy the kind of work, but in the end, this is the stuff
to the core, right? Yeah, this is more what your core.
I love this stuff, man. If I could do this for a living and go chasing urban legends and folklore and cryptids, man, what a cool job. There's nothing cooler on the planet than doing that job.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
Definitely. So. That's living the dream life for sure.
Yep.
You know.
So, what are your thoughts on the paranormal community as a whole?
Well, I'm not as much on the forefront of marketing and communications like you are, but everybody I've dealt with has been very friendly and very encouraging of like the things we do and things like that. So that's been a positive side for me.
Yeah, people kind of came at us with open arms when we jumped into this. I've experienced things most of my life. I've, just seen things, demonic stuff when I was younger, a ghost in my room. So I've experienced it my whole life. And it wasn't until really the pandemic when I'm I'm home a lot. What am I going to do with my life right now? Like figuring out the future. And I published those 2 books that I wrote. And then, but that was at the tail end of me writing them, and I had edited for years. And as soon as the pandemic started, I published them. But anyways, so I jumped into this paranormal stuff head first. I wanted to just start catching this stuff on camera because I've experienced it most of my life, and like, why not? Why not see if I can finally get it actually on camera, get actual evidence. Yeah. So we started out. Kent was actually the first one to jump into this with me. He was visiting, and that was fun, man. We did a lot of history on some crazy places.
Really fun. That was fun to learn about the whole local area.
Yeah, and those episodes are pretty much mostly all history and not much about like hauntings, so to speak. But we went there. We went to these places, told the history. We tried to see if anything would happen, as far as like we had a train accident in 1901 that killed hundreds of people, Dead Man's Curve, where 9 Native American bodies were dug up. And so those are important stories to tell. People should know about it when graves get desecrated and that kind of stuff. I feel like that's a very important thing to tell. So
yeah, definitely. So
we went out there, covered the history, really got into it, learned a lot about our area, and I think that made those episodes really awesome. And we did it as respectful as we could, and in the end we did catch a couple weird things that happened.
That was definitely like brave the elements on that one. That was definitely a fun experience though.
Remember that in the window of our car we got a reflection that looks like the tombstone at the gravesite where all these people died.
Yeah, the memorial gravesite. Yeah,
that was crazy.
Was a scary coincidence.
It was weird, man. That was a very weird thing that popped up on the window. So yeah, if you want to check that out too, that's another one of our episodes. But yeah, we have fun doing this stuff, man. We love this, and that's why we wanted to start a podcast and really start exploring theories and just talking about different things in the community. But back to the community question. Yeah, I've met a lot of really cool people in this right away. Like I said, they've been super like friendly and kind of like a loving community, so to speak. They're just very accepting of different teams and different ways about this stuff. You do get the jealous types every now and then, but it's very rare. It might be like 1 in 100 teams, that they think their way is better than everybody else and whatnot, but it's pretty
that
rare
comes with
overall.
The territory, I guess, for anything. So.
Yeah, for sure. And you get people who they've never investigated in their life. They're not psychic. They're not mediums. They've done none of it. And, you get comments on like YouTube and Instagram saying like, you guys don't know what you're doing. This is how you should do it or this or that. Or they're just super negative sometimes. Like, you guys should quit. Overall, you get 90% love and like that 10% of idiotic comments. You just got to kind of
brush those off.
Yeah, brush it off your shoulder and just laugh. Like, what experience do you have, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, feel free to document whatever they see or don't see, right?
Yeah. Some guys like his comment was, you guys said like, are there any spirits here? Well, spirits don't know they're dead, so that's a dumb comment. And it's just funny to me because it's like, has he died and gone to the next life and asked him that?
He's the spirit authority, right? Because he's been a spirit and he came back. Yeah, come on.
Well, and the thing is, you really think when we die we suddenly become complete idiots and we don't even know we're dead? Like, come on,
right.
We're not.
We would be just another zombie, right? Like, that's not. I wouldn't think that's accurate at all.
Yeah, you might feel stuck or whatnot and need help, but you're not going to be that stupid when you die. Like, I don't know what's going on.
You're not going to just all of a sudden lose,
where am
everything,
I?
right? Yeah.
I'm so confused.
No.
Like, and we've had spirits say that they're dead and this and that, and why am I dead and all that. So obviously, that's an intelligent response.
Like mid conversation almost, like in some of the investigations out there. So
yeah, that's crazy. Like at the cemetery, we literally were catching like conversations between spirits. Like they're like, "Hey, how you doing?" Like, "I love you," and then we get like demonic stuff every now and then, like really dark stuff saying they want our souls and all that. But then, like, as we're walking through the cemetery, we're catching, like, random conversations.
Yeah, like we were at a bar, ordering a drink or something, right? That's what it felt like. We were just, like, just eavesdropping on conversations left and right. That was really intriguing.
It really was. It was exactly like a bar where you hear a conversation over here, and then there's a different one over here, and we keep cutting between all this, and then they say, "Hey, come back,"
Yeah, like they saw us, like our outfit or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
That. Yeah, that was interesting.
It was pretty cool, actually, man.
That was fun.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Definitely a fun one. What's wrong with most Bigfoot footage caught on tape, and why do you believe most is fake?
Yeah, so I've seen some Bigfoot videos lately, and that's what made us, come up with this question to begin with. I see these videos, and it always cracks me up because they just start in the middle of them being there. It's like there's no build up. They don't explain where they're at, how they got there, and it's just like, boom, here's this thing, and then they like start walking, and then they're not even out of like the scene, and they stop recording.
Yeah, ends abruptly, right?
They're like still in the camera lens, like you can still see the thing walking, and they're like, stop.
Yeah.
So my question would be, who in their right mind would ever stop recording something that's so rare and probably $1 million footage? Who's going to go, "Oh, I've seen enough. Stop recording."
Yeah, like that's it. I'd rather save my phone battery or save my phone storage. Come on.
That
doesn't happen.
It makes literally no sense at all. The other thing is, like, wouldn't you want to film your reaction to a degree? Like, wouldn't you be like us on an investigation would be like, "Holy crap, man, did you see that? Like, oh my God, that just happened? Like, really?" Like,
you would have to, right? Yeah, you would have to have your reaction or your description of what you're seeing.
Something.
You would have to be trying to contextualize everything, what you're looking at.
Yeah, either
if it's
whispering.
a real sighting. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's real, either whispering in the moment, like, "Hey, there's something over there."
Yeah.
Or like, right after, you're going to keep a continuous shot, and right after, as when you finally leave and it's gone and you're safe, then you're going to be like, "Dude, what the heck?" You're going to be like, "Holy crap, that was crazy."
In between the final shot of the beast that you saw and your commentary, you're going to give everybody a headache, like, Blair Witch, style, right? 'Cause you're not cutting, you're not cutting the video. You're just showing you running along, right? It's
unless their phone's like totally out of battery and like, their cameras out of SD storage, Like,
oh, come on. Yeah, but how likely is that, right?
I'm saying that'd be the ridiculous excuse,
Yeah, so that's what I think. Like, if you compare it to, all the other stuff you see on YouTube, like public freakout videos or something, like, it's always a continuous cut, right? And there's always some sort of commentary. So
always.
If you saw something out there, I would think it would take on the similar thing.
Yeah, and how are you supposed to believe in a story when, first off, you don't know where it happened. You don't know how they got there. You don't know why it ended the way it did. You don't know who filmed it or why there's no reaction. There's like 10 questions that make it seem like it's probably fake, and it probably most of the time is fake. Yeah. And more likely they're like, "Stop. Okay, buddy, you can come out of the woods in that hot suit,"
Yeah. They don't have a walkie-talkie or anything. Yeah. They're just like shouting commands at each other.
And you got to think they probably got to rush because they don't want another car or somebody else to see it. So they're like, "We got to get out of here quick before somebody like catches us on our lie."
Because they want to be the exclusive, video too, right? If somebody else sees it.
Yeah. They don't want somebody to call them out while they're standing there with a suit with no head on, like no mask.
Yeah, like they're just taking a break, right? Smoke break or something.
Over there eating a granola bar, But
right.
Yeah, another note I put is just technology. You think of
That's right.
Today we have these cell phones. Like 99% of people have cell phones with either like 4K or HD footage. They film movies on cell phones nowadays.
Yeah,
So
Oscar-winning movies, right? Yeah.
yeah, yet all these new, shots of supposed Bigfoot has like grainy footage. It looks like it was filmed in the 1970s on an old camcorder, and it looks like you're playing it back on a VHS. It looks terrible half the time.
Yeah. Like they put so many filters, or I don't know. They're just trying to mask the irregularities in their costume or something.
That's the perfect word for it, is mask. That's what I think. They probably film it on an HD camera, and then they take it to their thing. They add a bunch of grain, and they add a bunch of like lines, squiggly lines, and they try to over zoom so it's really fuzzy. And you don't have to over zoom on something like that.
Yeah, lose all the detail. In reality, it's like that's what all that blur or whatever they add to it, that fuzziness. That's what makes it.
That's what they do, though, and you
Pretend
notice
to make it real. Yep.
almost every Bigfoot video looks the same. They all look like that. They all look fuzzy. They all look squiggly.
Yeah,
they all
which
look
doesn't make
overly
sense.
zoomed in. And there's never explanations. So it's pretty easy to say you guys are all falling under the same BS, some fake crap you want us to believe. To me, man, that's a cop-out. Like, go get real footage, Don't try to fake it just to, like, get the fame of being the first to catch a Bigfoot or something. Like,
No, like gear up and then go out there too, right?
you should be ashamed of yourself if your buddy was walking around in a suit and you're getting millions of views and feeling like you're awesome or something.
Yeah, you gotta have some. You gotta have some guilt on that one.
Yeah. Have some self-respect, man. Like,
That's right.
Go get some real footage. Go do what we do with meets and stuff, and put our lives on the line to actually
do it the
this
hard
stuff.
way, right? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right, last question. If you had to choose, what cryptid would you most want to get bitten by and turned into?
Ooh, that's a tough one. So many awesome ones out there, I would think, right?
Definitely.
Maybe a ghostly one or something, like a djinn, so I can fly around through things, so I can mess around with people a little easier. Something like that, maybe. I don't know.
That would actually be fun, man.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before, but when you think about it, when you die, you're going to actually experience that to begin with. We'll all experience that one day, like walking through walls for the first time and,
Yeah.
seeing what that other realm is all about. It's going to be crazy, man. Just imagine almost you got like spirits going by almost like traffic, like car traffic.
Yeah, it's like you don't even see it with your eyes, but they're just like,
They're just everywhere all of a sudden,
bumping elbows with each other and stuff.
Well, here's the thing you got to think of. Think about all the thousands of years people have died.
Oh, yeah.
And imagine if a lot of their spirits are still here on Earth, like thousands of years worth. There's
gotta be like an interesting. That is one interesting bar to go get a drink at.
Yeah, you're like having a drink with a guy from the 1500s and another one from the 1800s, and you're over there sipping beers. Imagine what you would talk about. Like, what about our cell phones? And they're like, we didn't even have phones,
Yeah, like the crazy stories that everybody would be able to tell. That'd be one awesome place.
It'd be interesting to see, man. Like, you can imagine. That's why there's so many hauntings. Like, so many people have died for thousands and thousands of years that their spirits are still here floating around doing stuff. And so they stick to an area, they haunt people. And that's pretty wild, man.
That's pretty wild to think about, yeah.
It is. Like, a lot of people don't think that deep about it, but thousands of years of spirits. It's pretty interesting.
That's crazy.
Yeah, for me, it's tough because for like a cryptid, like if you're going to pick a cryptid, you're stuck as that beast like long term, right?
Like, you couldn't be like a chupacabra or anything like that, because you'd be like that dog, like, weird like creature looking forever. That's nasty.
You're like gnawing on your foot. You're like,
you
like got a scratch, and you're like,
you're
like doing this stuff to your face, just scratching yourself.
Oh, heck no.
But that's why, like, to me, I think a lichen, because they supposedly can change back into a human, right?
That's true, yeah.
So then, you get to walk around as this crazy, scary beast, and then, bam, you're back to a human. And then, like, you can fit in and do all that stuff. And
I say, at least you wouldn't be, like, totally out of place,
Yeah,
just walking around, like, in your normal self, right?
Because if you're always stuck, like, where are you going to hide? Where are you going to go in the winter? What are you going to do? Like, and I always wondered that with these beasts and stuff, like Bigfoot. Where do they hibernate? Where do they go when it's, like 10 to 20 degrees out and it's freezing? And I know they have fur, but at the same time, what are they eating this whole time? What are they catching? All the other animals like disappear.
Yeah, like if you're that big of a creature, you obviously gotta eat a lot every day. And if it's in the midwinter, where do you get those calories, right?
Unless they're vegan.
Yeah, they never know.
I know some, big gorillas and stuff, they'll eat like all greens, man. Like most of them,
you could probably get enough protein if you obviously the forest well enough, way better than we would ever know.
But there's still that question, like where do they hide,
Mm-hmm.
like year round, where they're not being found by people? Like where do they go? Like that's the interesting thing. It's not just where they're walking and like where you see them at, but where do they go when they're not out walking around? You know,
Mm-hmm.
where are they hiding? Do they have a cave? Do they build some kind of shelter? And like with Bigfoot, you know, they always find these big stick piles or stuff. Maybe they're doing stuff like that and staying underneath it or something. But what about these Wendigos and skinwalkers and all that kind of stuff?
Where do they sleep, like at night or in the day, or
do they sleep?
They get their rest? Yeah.
You would think they would have to, right?
I would think so. Any creature, I would imagine, like
I would think like a Bigfoot and stuff might. Those other ones are such weird creatures, though. You know, like
they kind of border
like,
between physical and spiritual, and
they're kind of like zombie
realities
too,
right? Yeah,
they're kind of like they're always like mutilated looking and skin like rotten and stuff. So like, do they have brains like that work very well, or like,
or they're like maybe super brains? I don't know. Like it could be. Yeah, you take it to both extremes, right?
Yeah, but you wonder how smart they would be, and if they even sleep, if they're smart enough to sleep, you know, maybe they would crash
maybe they don't
eventually.
Need to sleep anymore. Yeah, like
and
out of that, I don't know.
Like you said, if they're on a spiritual, you know, aspect, then no, they wouldn't need to. But it's hard saying, man. But like one thing I think about is like you'd be able to have so much fun as a lichen, you know. Like let's say you go to a bar and some guy pisses you off, you know, and he's just being a jerk, and you're like, give me my beer. And he's like, no. And then, like, next thing you know, you're like your shoulders all of a sudden get, like, twice as wide. They snap it. If you could stop, like, mid-form, you know?
Yeah, just, like, halfway, just before, like, beak forms and stuff.
Yeah, so you got, like, red eyes and fangs and then, like, big shoulders, but you're, like, you know, get to stay that way.
Yeah, but you can still talk. Like, you can still hold a conversation.
Yeah, you're like walking
full
through
wolf speak, yeah.
You're walking through the alley. It's just like, bring it on, man. Who wants to mess with me? You walk down the alley that way, like half hunchback.
You master changing so much. That'd be so awesome.
That would actually be fun, man. You could like mess with people all the time, almost like prank level, but you know, real life pranks. You know, like
you're more of like, instead of a scary monster, you're more like a jokester. So you just like just prank people every day.
You like you know, making your like bicep raise like 3 times as far as it should because it's shape shifting the whole time.
Oh my god!
You're like, check this out, you know.
Oh man, people would freak out. That's for sure.
It'd be fun, man. Like you could probably find some way to make a living off of just playing stupid tricks on people like that.
I would think so, right?
Yeah. So that's the show tonight, guys. We hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for stopping by. If you want to follow our YouTube, it's Night Stalker Investigations, or you can go over to Facebook. It's Night Stalker Bro Dog. We actually have a Night Stalker Investigations there too. And if you want to follow my Instagram, it's @Night Stalker Investigations. We thank you for stopping by. We'll see you next time.